Hey, everybody. Welcome to Mat Men, your source for all things professional wrestling. I'm Andrew Zarian. I'm joined by the Chicago hot dog himself, Rich Stambolian.
I am the biggest hot dog Chicago has ever seen. And you know why? It's because I've been jumping my fucking skateboard all over the damn place. Just hot dogging it, baby.
You're just hot dogging it. We got a very special guest. My co-host on We're Live, pal, Denise Salcedo is here with us. How you doing, Denise?
Denise, you look a little different today.
Oh, man. I'm still winded from doing We're Live, pal.
Me too. Garrett Gonzalez, everybody. We just did a monumental We're Live, pal, I would say. We had Dave Meltzer on, Brian Alvarez. I mean, the who's of podcasting at this moment. I mean, really awesome. It was a lot of fun, to be honest, to experience this and to do it. Man, what a freaking weekend this is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, obviously we'll talk about the card and everything else that's going on, but the fact that this feels like a hot show, right? Yeah. And I'm not going to say AEW could have sold out a 40,000-person stadium, but it almost feels like this is a bigger show than it actually is, like physically in size, because of how many people are here, who's here, the buzz, obviously, the rumors, the speculation. Garrett, I mean, you do these every now and then, obviously. Is this different for you?
So the only other AEW show I've been to was Double or Nothing, which was their very first pay-per-view. And that was fun, but it was like new, and we didn't really, like, we were hoping for the best. Yeah. We were sort of anticipating like this brand new company. John Moxley comes in at the end of that show and really solidifies what was a really great show and a great experience. But this, like, this is only, gosh, it's would be what, two years and change. AEW feels like a completely different monster now compared to when they did that first show. They're a legitimate money-making company. They're hot. They're bringing in real players like CM Punk, who turned, like, he really, like, without CM Punk, All Out was going to be fun. Add CM Punk, and you mentioned, you know, some of the possibilities of other people. This feels like an event. Like, I've been to many WrestleManias, and the buzz on WrestleMania can be giant, but it's also a spectacle.
It is. So it kind of gets damp. There's like a dampening effect because it's so big.
And they are there to run this giant show. They're not necessarily there to create word of mouth, because WrestleMania is what should get WrestleMania over. This feels like huge AEW show, but the fans have a very high ceiling of what they expect, and they fully expect the show to deliver, and then some, because they expect surprises too. And Tony Khan doesn't shut any of that stuff down. He kind of feeds it, right? Just in his commentary in the press. Like, I feel like he's confident that this show's going to deliver, and that he's going to deliver on the promise of, like, we just got so many guys coming. So really this feels much bigger than it should. And, you know, we're going to be at the Now Arena. I was there for Rampage. That place isn't that big for a show that feels giant. Not to say that they need to move out of it, because I think there's some, you know, they feel like that's a home building for them. But to your point early on, they could have filled, you know, many more seats for this show.
Yeah.
This feels like a very old school wrestling event in the regard of, you have a guy headlining a show that hasn't wrestled for 7 years in CM Punk. Do you think that is a question for both of you guys. Do you think this is one of those situations where, old school wise, the undercard is like, hey, thanks for doing the show. You're the draw. This wouldn't have been possible with, like, the amount of fervor and enthusiasm maybe would not have been as possible if CM Punk had not signed.
You know, I mean, that's a really fascinating question for a number of reasons, right? So, first of all, I think everybody realizes the role that they're on, regardless if you're a big AEW fan or you're not a big AEW fan. You can recognize the perception shift as far as, okay, you know what, these guys are number two, but they're doing something very different, but they're not that far away as far as eyeballs go and interests go. If you look at overall numbers, obviously WWE is super dominant, but the expectation is super high,
right?
But I think the room for error also is there, right? I
Yes.
think people are okay with if there's like a mistake, they're a little bit forgiving. But I think for the wrestler, and this is from what has been told to me, top to bottom, people see this as, oh crap, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, the Adam Cole rumors. These are big names to get to further build our brand. It's not like when Hogan went to WCW. First of all, Hogan going to WCW 93, 94. In 94, WCW was in a really bad position.
Right.
They weren't putting on great matches that somebody other than them showed up and then took over. People were not happy about Hogan from beginning to end.
Right.
And a lot of it is the same criticism that CM Punk got with the internet. Same exact criticism. He's a little difficult. I'm not saying that this is true, but it's the same conversation about him. But the overall attitude from the locker room, from the talent, from the company is a total 180. They see this as, you know what, this is just another layer. Another layer, another layer.
It's pretty fascinating when you think about that. Garrett, is this going to be the first time you've seen CM Punk live?
No, I've seen him live a bunch of times when he was at WWE. So remember the build to John Cena and The Rock. I don't know what year that was, but CM Punk was the champion, and The Rock had to beat CM Punk for that title.
Yeah.
So
2010, 2011.
So
That Royal Rumble match,
there was a Raw that came to San Jose where that storyline was fully in. So I've seen him several times just because my kids I would take them to shows right around that time frame a lot. I want to actually. There's a point that Andrew made about WWE is just. They're just the big shot company, and the thing that I like to point out to AEW fans is Tony Khan's model of what he's doing with professional wrestling doesn't exist unless Vince McMahon sells Raw and SmackDown for giant money, right? That's the reason why Tony Khan was like, there's money in this thing, right? Yeah. So the WWE is just number one. But you made a point and you said, how close is AEW? Is AEW a faraway number two? Are they inching closer? And Dave Meltzer, who we had on We're Live Pal, he makes this point all the time. He's a little cryptic in his point, but he basically says somebody told Nick Khan, AEW, people at WWE will tell you AEW is nothing. They don't know what they're doing. They're not going to be competition. But you need to pay attention to them because don't believe the WWE line about AEW. And this would have been when Nick Khan came in originally.
Well, this I got to tell you, this is a new... it started then. Dave's absolutely right because in talking to the network partners, they all had the same mentality of been there, done that. This has happened multiple times. Nobody will come close. This will fizzle out in 6 months to a year when the ratings plummet. I have seen conversations happen, and I could tell you that the networks are, oh crap, these guys are coming. It's not like, oh man, WWE's in danger. Nobody's seeing it that way whatsoever. They're very confident of the path that WWE is going right now. They're happy about Brock as a whole. They're happy that the draft is coming up. There's a lot of things keying up, and also they're going into hot season, right? They're going into, in a couple of months it'll be Royal Rumble, and they're back into WrestleMania season, and we'll be saturated with WrestleMania talks. But the overall perception, and I keep using that word because it's been what's being said to me. The optics and the perception is WWE's the NFL, but these other guys, these kids, are really coming up quickly. Now, will they beat WWE? If I were to take a guess today in 2021, 2022, I would say no, they're not going to beat WWE. They're not going to become the dominant wrestling company in the world, but you don't have to be number one to be doing some really tremendous business.
Well, by saying that WWE's the NFL, is AEW XFL?
I mean, terrible comparison. I mean, actually, in Major League Sports, it's like nothing, but...
Yeah. It's tough. WWE,
it is tough.
We've talked about this on the show for the last couple of weeks since we went to SummerSlam. WWE at this point in time is such an institution that it's laughable to think and see people go, WWE is done. AEW is killing them. When the reality is, again, perception-wise, we went to SummerSlam. It's the most family-friendly circus I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah.
That is not going anywhere. But their cool appeal to guys like us has dwindled severely over the last couple of years.
A great example, dude.
Yeah.
You're a musician. What does better, pop concerts
Oh yeah,
or
oh my
metal
God.
shows?
Oh, you know what? Does
You know?
SoundCloud rappers selling out Madison Square Garden?
SoundCloud rappers
that
are
you've
selling out
never
Madison
heard of.
Square. Yeah. Little Chairsy or whatever the
Yeah, Little
there you
Chairsy.
go. Yeah, Little Chairsy. I haven't got. I book him at the club all the time.
You book Little
I got
Chairsy?
Little Chairsy next.
He brings
week
like
with
a bunch of little
Azalea.
chairs, right?
Yeah, and that's his thing. He just raps from one chair to another. It's always fun to compare.
Yeah.
But when you look at this, we are now at a crossroads, and my comparison is more WWE's Broadway. They're Barnum and Bailey's. They're Rock of Ages on Broadway, right? It's music, but it's not a concert.
Right. Hamilton.
Yeah. It's production. It's music. It's still music.
Right, yeah.
It's still a concert, right?
WWE's
Technically.
Les Mis, basically, or Cats.
Yeah, fine. Yeah. I would say Les Mis.
Long-running show.
Long-running show, story within. There's music elements. There's drama. There's comedy. There's horror. There's a little of everything because that is what they're appealing. They want to hit a broad audience.
Right.
They don't want an aged audience that loves pro wrestling because a lot of those guys, guess what? They're watching MMA now.
Right.
Now that MMA exists, we didn't have MMA. Nobody in this room growing up had mixed martial arts. The closest we had was boxing, and then American kickboxing became a thing in the late 80s that never went anywhere.
Yeah.
And then we got UFC, and now we're in this whole, it's a dominant sport with multiple companies out there. If you're seeking that type of entertainment, that WWE fan, they're watching MMA.
Right.
You know, they may not care about the circus aspect of it and the comedy and everything else. But, you know, AEW kind of is that middle ground between the two. And I think they're filling in a void for a lot of people.
The music analogy is actually a really good one because punk music, which existed, and without punk music, I don't think hip hop gets over because it's the same mindset of, we are sort of the fans who are not being serviced in what we like. And so we like this other thing, and now let's bring this other thing up. And I think that's kind of comparable to AEW because a lot of the people who came, and I'll mention John Moxley being the first person, John Moxley is the first domino to fall for WWE, and I don't count Chris Jericho in that because Chris Jericho has other things to do.
Yeah.
He has Fozzy. He tried to do some acting stuff. He did the web series, and he was gone from WWE. He just didn't like the way that Vince McMahon saw him as now an old guy, no longer a main eventer. He's like, rather than kill my brand as Chris Jericho pro wrestler and be opening match guy, I'm going to move on and go do something else. Chris Jericho joining AEW, Jim Ross joining AEW, that kind of got the eyeballs, that got the PR, and they're great hires. John Moxley is the first.
Surprise? I mean, I know you're friends with Mox.
Friends is a loose term.
No, I mean, you've
he's done. I've done podcasts with him. He's a big MMA fan.
He remembers you.
He remembers you. He knows who you are.
He sent me his book, so I have his book.
very cool.
Yeah.
I said this to Rich, and this is a compliment, right? I was a Moxley fan on the independents when he signed with WWE, went into developmental. I thought that was really cool. You know, everybody compared him to Terry Funk. He was doing that thing with Foley that didn't go anywhere.
That's the whole story's in
And he
his book, too.
debuts
It's
in
a
the
really
Shield.
cool story.
And the conversation was, in the Shield, the star is going to be Seth Rollins. Roman's going to get over regardless, but Mox isn't going to be the one. And he cut that first promo when he did the Shield. And everybody, remember that interview, not the mercenary one, there was like the camera?
Yeah.
It was all three of them. And they all said like one line. Bleed that.
Yeah.
Right? So he said the line, he needs water. Thanks.
No, you're not.
Treehouse Vince is here with us.
Speaking of water, can I have this water?
Yeah.
So when he became the breakout star first.
Yeah.
he was in the feud with Hunter. He turned on the Shield. The Shield turned on him, and then he had the turn happen. He was in some major spots, and then the umph was taken out of him.
Yeah.
And I really think it was that stupid potted plant steel cage match with Jericho. That
Do you think so?
You know what? That was ridiculous to me.
With the Asylum, the Ambrose Asylum
thing was. Yeah. I personally, I don't think it was great.
They had to sell this playsets though.
They had to sell the playsets. Yeah.
Carrying Cross's mask.
But for a guy like Mox, that was already established at the time.
Yeah.
They did this, and then they had him, and then he came out with a gas mask. Oh, they did do that to him. Do you remember?
Yeah.
They put him in that fucking gas mask.
With the leather jacket. They made him like Bane from
for like 3
the Batman
weeks.
flicks. Yeah.
So here's how I would explain that. You can homogenize some guys, and they're going to be fine.
Right.
Seth Rollins is a great performer. He was a great performer before WWE. He was a great performer in the Shield. He is homogenized today. He is a WWE performer, and he's still great.
Yeah.
Roman has struggled and has now found his,
But you know what? Every match Roman had was a 4.5,
Roman's
4-star.
really,
I mean, that's the
Roman
amazing
is
thing, right?
a good wrestler, very good wrestler. But you cannot homogenize John Moxley. The reason why, John Moxley is punk rock.
Yeah.
He's not. His beliefs and his values are everything that goes against being homogenized by WWE. So my point with Moxley is when the guys in the industry know how much money John Moxley was worth to WWE, him telling them no and joining AEW was the eye-opener for the wrestlers in the industry. He's the first one, and now what we're seeing with the crossover, we fully expect Bryan Danielson to show up.
Yeah.
I know how much money he will have turned down to come to AEW.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Tons.
So once that happens, that domino, John Moxley's the first one, and now we're going to see a lot of people go, okay, I'm unhappy. This money is great. What do I do? And some of the guys are going to still stay, and they're going to have really good careers, and they're going to do what WWE expects them to. Some guys are going to go, you know what? If Moxley can do it, I can do it. And they're going to go. And that's how you create this shift, this paradigm shift in the industry with the talent, is now those guys know their value, and they have leverage, and they're like, look, if I'm willing to walk away from this, I'm willing to bust my ass over here.
I think that's more of a mental attitude, though.
It is.
Not ever, because when you think about it that way, and I like your punk rock analogy, but the one thing with that punk rock analogy is like, let's say you're Bad Brains or Madball or something, or Agnostic Front or whatever. What happens when you become Green Day?
True.
Like,
You eventually become Green Day.
what happens
True.
when you become Green Day?
Or
And then-
if you become Green Day, it only helps AEW, right?
Right.
And maybe AEW does change somewhat at
They're
that
going to have
point.
to. They're going to eventually shift.
If as they make more money or as the TV deals get more expansive, you look into licenses for more. Like your business plan changes with what you can do, which is what WWE has figured out how to make money in so many different ways. And like I kind of laugh because it's like they've figured out how to take more money from the fan.
Yeah.
Today, they stretch their fans so thin, but the fans all are okay. They enjoy it. That's their thing. And so, AEW will look for ways to do that too. But I just find, I find I'm a startup guy.
Yeah.
I've worked in startups all of my life. So I get that mentality of like, we want to do something creative together. Okay, we're going to have to work a little harder. We're going to have to work crazier hours. But we have some freedom to make decisions. We have a voice. Punk keeps calling it, now he doesn't need, now the voice of the voiceless isn't the voice of the voiceless anymore.
Right.
They have a voice. That's what you feel in a startup when you're one of 10. You're like, oh, I may not have an equal percentage, but I have a voice. And so that's how I look at AEW is they're this startup which has really, really, really become a company quickly. But you still have to have that mentality of being a startup in order to continue to grow. WWE doesn't really need to grow anymore. WWE is making more money by being less popular Like, how does that work?
At the end of the day,
It's
if you're a
insane.
publicly traded company, what is the end goal? To make as much money as possible net.
Yes.
Net revenue.
100%.
And WWE has achieved everything that company's, whatever, you want to go back to Vince's dad, or let's go back to 83, 84, 82, whenever, when Vince took it over. For the last 40 years, this is what this company has wanted to become, and it is now.
Yeah.
And if you want to look at it from the perspective of, are they successful? Beyond a shadow of a doubt, they are so successful. But if you look at who all of that money goes to, you would hope that it trickles down a little bit more to the talent than it does. The majority of that money goes to Vince. Like, when it comes to actual power in that company, who has the say and who has the voice, he's got like 90 some odd % control of,
And it'll continue being that way,
Yeah.
even long after Vince. I think a lot of people are under this idea that once Vince retires, Hunter and Steph are going to take it over and it's going to become the Attitude Era. It's not going to...
No.
Guys, we are so past that era of wrestling where even if the company takes a little bit of an edge, right? They realize, okay, you know what? Our fans in 5 years that were 10 now are now 15 and they're into more edgy content. Then maybe they'll evolve. But we've said this for the last 15 years, that the company doesn't have that edge that they did.
just look at the NXT logo.
The NXT logo is a great example. By the way, that stadium,
Yeah.
that building,
Yeah.
I saw the mock-up. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really cool concept, but it is so far. It's pop culture now. It's
Yeah.
pop music.
Yeah,
It's no
yeah,
longer
absolutely.
rock and roll, which that was Hunter's thing, and that was NXT. But that's all of WWE, right?
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, watching those pay-per-views, it was always, like even the Jim Johnson stuff, the end
Yeah.
is here.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Or those video it was really edgy. I mean, it was there was I think it was Undertaker and Kane versus Stone Cold. I think it was that first blood match.
Yeah.
Where Vince McMahon, I think it was for Vengeance, the master plan promo. Recently, I came up with a master plan. I'm damn sick and tired. They have clips of Martin Luther King, JFK's assassination,
Yeah.
Vince's
Hitler,
heroes.
Hitler.
Well, no, not
I mean,
that one.
Be careful,
but it
Garrett.
was
Be careful here.
There's FDR's in it. Just a powerful.
Yeah.
You're going to war.
Churchill.
That's what it
I think
was.
there was like some Churchill
There's a
stuff
Churchill.
in
There
there.
has to be a Churchill. Just so different than today.
Yeah.
Now you got Cardi B.
You got Cardi B now, and not only that, but like, I'm gonna ask. We talk about this a lot, and I want to ask.
My
you
butt's
this.
real.
Your butt's
Yeah. Totally real. 100%
Every
real.
morning, I'm like, yo, are you sure your butt's real?
By the way, on our Patreon, I'm twerking on Rich after this. All right.
So we talk about this on the show a lot, right? And I want to get your opinion on this. And this kind of goes with the flow of what you're saying. Like, now it's Cardi B and not Metallica.
Yeah.
It's Cardi B and not like Slipknot. Like that's where they're skewing.
Yeah.
Do you think because WWE is such a perpetual motion money making machine institution, and people are upset about the firings, right? At this point, do you think WWE needs anybody to sustain themselves?
Now, are you talking about wrestling talent?
I'm talking about wrestling talent.
WWE to get somebody. Oh, sorry.
So-
That's okay.
sorry.
I like that.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. As far as like, all right. So people always say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I always think about late '90s Shawn Michaels, how he would call the shots and just like be this insufferable talent that got what he wanted.
Yeah.
Perception wise, I feel like the company at this point doesn't need anybody. They can homegrown it from here on out.
This is Vince's dream, right?
Yeah.
He wants the company to drive rather than talent, because
Right.
talent is, you either have the guy or you don't have the guy, and you want the business to be successful and stable no matter if you have the guy or not. I would say before AEW, 100% yes. Brock Lesnar, the smartest man in professional wrestling,
I agree with
with
that,
the
yeah.
best timing and most leverage of any professional wrestler right now, him coming back when, and Andrew would know this better than me, when plans suggested that maybe it wasn't going to happen immediately. I think that is a direct response to CM Punk, the possibility of Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole. They're like, okay, we have these guys we can bring in too. And, we're not going to get run out of the game because of our old talent who you guys are stealing from. I'm sure that's how Vince sees it. You guys are stealing our guys.
Interesting.
And so Brock Lesnar is a chip. Becky Lynch coming back is a chip. We'll see with Ronda Rousey, but Ronda Rousey is a possible chip when they need her. I know she's right now she's raising her family or starting her family, but there will be a time when Vince McMahon knows who in AEW's contract is coming up, and he's like, and I don't know anything. I'm just going to use a name, Cody. What do you think? You want to come back? That kind of thing, to where they then feel like they can pull guys from AEW. So I do think what happens is competition creates better,
of course,
pro wrestling, and I think that will be the case here. I think WWE is going to be a huge benefactor for AEW doing well, because without AEW, you can just be on a treadmill for all you want. They're still going to have big moments. They know how to do the big moments, but from a competitive standpoint, you didn't have anybody eating your lunch for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I think honestly, and this is my opinion based on things that I've heard, things that I'm piecing some things together. And I said this after our trip to Vegas. I said, if WWE within the next 5 to 10 years doesn't have a Vegas residency,
oh my God,
then they're running an incompetent company.
Yeah.
That company now, to do like 2,000 people a weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Vegas residencies, and you switch out who's performing that weekend. Maybe you don't get a Brock Lesnar ever, but maybe you get a Becky Lynch, maybe you get a Roman Reigns,
Finn
maybe
Balor.
you get a Finn Balor, Seth Rollins. Every week they swap it out. To be honest, if I'm going to Vegas as a guy, right?
Yeah.
As a guy, if I know that I could go watch wrestling, I'm going to freaking do it.
On the Strip?
Maybe it's going to be difficult to convince my wife, but maybe my wife will go because it is on the Strip, because it's in Mandalay Bay or wherever.
They better be serving alcohol.
They better be serving alcohol.
But you're not going to get kids to that show.
No, but no, you might actually. You possibly could. Vegas is becoming more of a kid that... Garrett, I got to tell you, I had a mental fucking breakdown walking back to the hotel.
Yeah, it was rough.
We ended up walking from Allegiant Stadium to the hotel.
Yeah.
We were staying in Virgin. It's like 11:30 at night. I have never seen that many goddamn newborns being wheeled around on the Las Vegas Strip like it's broad daylight. Like you're walking in your suburban town in the middle of the day.
They're sick of being home during
There
the
are
pandemic.
children running around. Like 2, 3, 4 year olds running around the Las Vegas Strip with hobos.
I'll put it to you this way.
And strippers and cabaret girls. It's like the end of times.
It was outdoors. I'll put it to you this way. We were so skeeved out that we both masked up immediately.
I put my fucking mask on, dude. And it wasn't about COVID. I wasn't afraid about COVID. I was afraid about everything else I'm about to catch on that goddamn Las Vegas Strip.
You didn't want those nasty 11:30 at night germs.
Ugh. Yuck.
Gross.
All of them. The babies, yuck. All of them were yuck. But do you think that that's a possibility? Because I feel like it's a very big possibility.
I think I'm gonna unfold unpack a little bit of what you're saying, because you could take it to the next level, and it's with WWE. It's all about perception, right? So the Impact Zone, that's a residency.
It is, yeah.
Full Sail, that's a residency.
Yeah.
But if WWE does it and they go, we're in Vegas, it becomes a spectacle.
It does.
And I think that would be an amazing draw.
Going back to the Eric Bischoff plan for WCW, move it to Vegas and make it a spectacle.
I agree with you 100%. Like, I think if they did this residency and they swapped out like 2 hour shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
And guess what? They don't have to sell a goddamn ticket.
Yeah.
You know why? Corporate giveaways.
Yeah.
Hey, you're in town with your wife and kids. Here you go. Come see WWE.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it will become. And by the way, that is what it is now. That Vegas show. Do you know how many corporate tickets?
Oh my God!
That arena.
Yeah.
Personally, that I know, everybody that I know that went out of wrestling that took their kids was a corporate.
Yeah.
It's a hotel partner. It's a this partner. It's a that partner. And that's where live entertainment is going. The whole ticketing business is that now. We talk about sellouts, 20,000 people. You've only sold probably like 10 to 15,000. The rest are all giveaways. It's all partners, advertising partners, merchandising partners. Venue partners, VIP services for season ticket hold, like MSG. I'm going to be at that show. Big show. Are you coming Friday?
You're talking about Friday.
Yeah,
Friday
September
night.
10th.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think so.
So I have to call, you reminded me I have to call and get my tickets. But
Get those tickets.
I could tell you that there are many of my clients going, and these were tickets bought for them.
Yeah.
That is what live ticketing has become. And that's the game. That's how it is. So at the end of the day, it's for WWE, how much optics do we have? How much brand perception do we have? You know, before you had a great week at work, your boss buys you tickets to take your kids to whatever.
Yeah.
The Mets game, Yankee game, it's going to be WWE.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
how it's going to work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny, too, because in those situations, like, you can always, like, when you're at those live shows, you could always tell because, like, and I'm sure you've been in this situation a million times. Let's say you get a box at Citi Field.
Yeah.
The dudes who show up
In the
dressed
box.
in suits.
That's me.
Or
That's
women
at
in
Yankee
cocktail
Stadium.
dresses who say hello and goodbye and they leave. Those are those corporate folks that don't stay for
No, they get the photo. They get the picture in the luxury box.
They do their business connections and that's it. You know, it's
A friend of ours was at a luxury box in at Yankee Stadium yesterday.
Which friend is this? Was it Matthew McConaughey?
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. That guy's great.
A certain Twitter person.
Really?
A certain person on Twitter that you know, he tends to leak stuff.
Who could possibly be a fan of the Mets forever?
Could be a fan of the Mets forever.
I think it's him.
You think that's who it is?
I think that's who it is.
I've seen him.
Yeah?
I've met him.
Well, I think he folded Mets fan forever into what you're talking about.
Very interesting. No,
That's my
he's
theory.
a Yankees fan.
Really? What a bum.
A little inside baseball, literally inside baseball talk. So Garrett, I want to talk to you about this because big show coming up tomorrow. Obviously, you were at Rampage yesterday. We spoke about it on We're Live, pal. You know what? I got to tell you, 9 freaking shows in, that show was very comfortable to do. I have a good feeling about that show. I really enjoyed doing it. And
Well, I mean, we do it through our homes, and your team is producing it and shots and stuff. But to do it with each other was a lot of fun because in doing the show virtually with you, I kind of know a little bit about, like, I'm listening to when you want to pop in and have, but I can physically see you doing the show.
Getting antsy, yeah.
And so I can see you going like, oh, I want to talk. And I'm like, okay, you know, Dave's talking, Andrew's going.
You know, it's funny because when I first started podcasting, the only show that I had in person was John. Did I start off in person or I started off doing remotes?
I think you were in person.
Yeah, we were in person. We did the Andrew Zarian show first, and that show was, I mean, it was like a Howard-esque show, a Howard Stern-esque show, and that kind of got me used to, like, reading eyes. Like, seeing, like, okay, Rich is, yeah, there you go, like that. Yeah. It's like a painting that follows me. I got used to it because Leslie Gold, she was a big-time radio person in New York. She picked on when 92.3 switched over to Talk FM. She was the main person. She filled in for Howard, right? She became the new Howard. And she really smartened me up, and she was like, look at people's eyes when you're in studio, because that'll tell you everything about the interview. And that's what I do. I always look at the eyes, and I'm like, okay, this is working, or I'll take it down a different path. But when you're doing it online, you got to learn so many little uhs and ums and squirming, you know, to see them.
Your ears. It's all ears. You're
like
just listening.
We did the show together in person for 7 years. No, 2010. No, 2011. 8 years. And then the freaking pandemic happened. And now we're doing a remote. And he's in his home 8 blocks away from me. New York talk. We talk in blocks, right? That's how you, by the way, little trick. You want to learn if someone is from New Jersey, New York, or Long Island. In New York, in Long Island, they talk, you know, in knots.
That's you know what?
Oh, he's
bizarre.
5 knots.
Bizarre.
Well, no,
bizarre.
like
I know.
Montauk.
I know, but it's always bizarre.
Or miles. Oh, they say, oh, he's a quarter of a mile. It's not that far. He's a quarter of a mile. He's a half a mile. And same thing in New Jersey. They talk about it in miles. We talk about it in blocks. We will determine how much of a pain in the ass it is to walk to your house in blocks. He's 12 blocks away. Which city blocks or Queens block? Oh, Queens blocks. Okay, I'll take it. But I think right now, you know, I forgot where we were, but
it took us when we had to do the remote shows. It took us, honestly, I think it took us 2 episodes to get it down, and then boom, it was seamless again.
Yeah, but it was weird. I mean, even when it was seamless, it was still like I'm looking. with the corner of my eye to see Rich.
Yeah.
Because I can't read his expectation, what he's going to do. So we had to kind of re-strategize that.
But I think it was only seamless because we know each other so well.
Yeah, 20 some odd years.
I think that's it. And then usually when he wants to talk, he goes like this.
It's my time now. I throw my watch at him. I take my Rolex and I just throw it at him.
Hello. Big sign that says hello.
Did the camera turn off, John? Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's
Are we
not
still
there? It's the power.
Are we still good on camera
There you
too,
go.
John?
It's back. There you go.
All right, cool.
We're good. So I want to ask you because I discovered you probably when you first started doing the shows with Dave, and I'm an IATA guy.
Yep.
And people don't know, like, they're surprised when I tell them. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been listening to Dave and Brian for 21 years.
Yep.
regularly. And the first thing I said to Dave when I saw him yesterday in that freaking Chili's, which was like the meeting of the wrestling people, which was so weird in a cool way. I was like, I just want to tell you, you ruined my freaking life with that goddamn show. Cause somebody sent me a link to the show and it was like, oh, he does it in the afternoons. I think it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock.
All I know
3
is
o'clock.
I listened to it at work because I didn't have the internet.
So I was in
speed
high
at
school.
home, so I had to listen.
I had
at work.
DSL.
Yeah.
I had DSL. I would listen to him, and I downloaded the real player. It was .rm and .ram files. And I used to listen. I used to record it when I was at school and listen at night. I was like, my God, before this, John Arezzi is the only other wrestling show that I ever heard that actually spoke about like the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And big credit to John Arezzi because he played a major influence. You had asked me who played an influence.
Yeah.
Howard Stern, Leo Laporte, and Dave and Brian with their show changed the trajectory of my career path. I was going to be a lawyer. I should have become a lawyer. Now I'm in Chicago right now talking wrestling to a bunch of adults, which is fantastic. This is my life now. And there are people sitting here. There's one guy sitting on the floor. There's another one on my bed. There's Suncast. I flew him into. He drove in to come in and produce this. I mean, this is like a bizarre universe I'm in.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun. Mm-hmm. But for you, like, what was it that drew you to doing the shows, to broadcast? Because we were talking off the air and how radio's always been a big part for you. But what was it for you?
So, I went to college with a radio TV degree. So there was always intrigue and interest, and I in my internship very early I had figured out that radio was not going to be the place that I went because it's too much. All the old guys who've been on forever. You're never going to get them out of there.
The old guard won't step down, and there's so much eating shit that you got to do unnecessarily. Like it makes no sense. If you're talented, it doesn't matter.
And so I got the experience. I still enjoyed it, and I was like, I'm going to go do my thing. And at some point, if the opportunity arises, I'll get back into it. When podcasting first kind of became a thing, I kind of messed around with it. The audio was never good enough. I didn't know the technological aspect of it, but I still did it because I wanted to get the reps in as a host. So I did so many shows that I would consider practice shows. The people who heard those shows was probably in the 20s, but I just continued to do them because I knew there was going to be an opportunity at some point. So fast forward, I am really good friends with Big Dave Meltzer.
Were you friends prior to doing any kind of radio?
No, I didn't. I met him in 2006. We were at a run actually. Pat Tillman, the U.S. Ranger, when he died, he's from our area, and so I did the run.
Football player,
and then he and his family were at the run. So I'd met him then, but I didn't really get close to him until 2010, 2011, but that was still only I would see him at events. And it was about, 2013, 2014 when I started going to his house and watching shows, and then we got really close. And what happened is
what an experience that. We're all friends, right? But as someone that loves wrestling, to have that special ability to be like, oh, I'm going to watch it with Dave.
Yeah.
And
totally.
you're going to get a whole different experience.
What happens is Brian Alvarez starts a family. Dave wants to do all of these interviews. He wants to record. And Brian's like, I got these kids, and I got my he has his gym, his jiu-jitsu gym.
Jiu-jitsu gym.
And so Dave would be like, let's do this. And Brian's like, I'm busy. And so Brian, finally, he sent me some equipment. He's like, you do it. Help me with this. And, we'll get you involved.
And I have to tell you, it's a very, and I say this to you all the time, but I'm going to say, I've never said it on this show. It's a very different show.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it tremendously. I mean, I made the joke about roller derby. I like that's the thing about our show. Like right now, we're doing a very different type of show.
Very loose.
It's a loose format. We don't have like our normal shticks going, but I love to interject random conversations within what we're doing because it creates a different vibe. And I think when you guys are talking about baseball, he'll bring up a bizarre reference from the 1980s with baseball or football, and it makes you stop and you kind of come back in because, when you listen and you're doing a bunch of other things, you come back in and you're like, oh, what did he just say? Who is he talking about? And you start looking it up. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, I really enjoy that Saturday show you guys do, or Sunday, whenever right now.
It's been so off days.
I mean, you have a radio background also. I'm the only one that doesn't have any kind of formal radio background. I just became obsessed with it.
What the switch happens is I start doing the show, and the first ones that I did with him sound awful because I didn't know what I was doing. Then I would talk to Brian.
I still don't.
And
neither one of us do.
and then I would shoot him like some files. What does this sound like? He's like, I turn this. It was all just like back and forth. So when we finally figured out the sound, my thought process was a lot of times what happens is Brian and Dave record so late. They're both really tired. Brian goes, here's something Dave wants to talk about. And he won't even ask a question. He will just go, Sasha Banks. And Dave will go, 10 minutes on Sasha Banks. And Brian won't even jump in. And so I was like, okay, that's how they do it. I want to have more of a conversation. They have great conversations too. And I'm not saying how they do it is incorrect. They're just doing it.
It's a different show.
In a different way. And so I was like, I want to interject. I want to have conversations. I want to think like what the person listening may follow up with. Like Dave will say something and then I'll go, oh, I wonder if people really understood what he meant.
Yeah.
And then when he takes a breath, then I follow up really quickly and go, okay, now what did you mean by that? Or I'll ask him, it's an interesting way to get him to just keep unraveling that ball of yarn. And that's sort of how I was always taught how to write, how to get people to talk about things. Like think of it as a ball of yarn, how get them to the end of that yarn. Yeah. And so it just became this thing where I was sort of interviewing him in a sense, even though I'm co-hosting with him. And it became I'm curious person. I love hearing him talk about this stuff. He's very passionate about it. But also, there are times where I know the answer to the question I'm going to ask, but I ask it in a way anyways, like if I don't know, because I want the audience to hear what
a genuine response
what he knows,
to somebody not knowing.
And so it's a really cool thing. It can be exhausting sometimes because Dave goes like he is the Energizer.
Do you edit it down when you do the show?
The only time I edit it is if the topic veers into I'm not sure this is the best way that we said this and people can take it the wrong way. I've edited one guest.
And was it the guest that you should have edited?
1970s wrestler Bugsy McGraw.
Oh, I don't know this story.
He was talking about San Francisco territory.
Oh, no.
And Pat Patterson.
Oh, he said some stuff
and
that he shouldn't
used a specific word or two that me and Dave were sort of nervously chuckling through, and then I wrote the time code down and I cut out like 4 minutes of it. But I put it together seamlessly so no one would have known. And that's not to say that he was being a certain way. He wasn't being prejudiced or anything. He's just an older guy who was trying to give people what was going on.
What was going on? No,
at the time.
Understood.
And I'm like, okay, I get it. If we were hanging out in his house and he used that language, I wouldn't have corrected him.
Yeah.
But this thing's going out to the public. and you know how that could be.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had that. We've had to do that.
Knock on wood.
We're pretty good on the air. Off the air, we're monsters.
Oh, off the air, we're effing tired.
I've actually had to edit more for my podcast with John LaRocca on F4W.
Oh, really?
So John is a booker, and he has relationships, and he knows, he kind of knows which people are nice and which people aren't really nice. And so sometimes he'll tell me a story, and I'll laugh, and then at the end of the show, he'll go, if that thing gets out, it's not going to be good. And we got to edit that out. And I said something recently about AEW Dark, which I am not the biggest fan of, and I had to see for 2.5 hours yesterday at the Rampage taping, because it is green wrestling.
Yeah.
And the AEW fan who wants to see everything, they like that show.
They do. They like it.
Personally, I'm going to watch Dynamite. I'm going to watch Rampage. I don't have 9 hours to watch all the other shoulder programming. Right. And I had made a joke about Dark, and then he goes, dude, you got to edit that out. And I was like, okay, you're probably right. It's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
We had a drink or two. Probably not good. So, and then I edited it out. So, it's just, we keep each other honest. I want to make sure that nobody tries to cancel Dave for something that he's said. And, Dave is in his 60s, in his early 60s, but he's on top of it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He's progressive. He sometimes he'll have a little bit of an old school mentality with pro wrestling. The one that the interesting buzzword is when older people in the industry will use the term, and Bret Hitman Hart still uses this term for women wrestlers. They'll call them the girls.
Yeah.
And that's just how it's talked about in the industry, is the girls and the guys, or the girls
boys.
and the boys. Yeah. And so, but today, if you say the girls, people will take that in a certain way. So you'll hear Dave say the girls, I mean the women, just because that's just how the verbiage is used.
It's funny, Bischoff has always been very firm on not calling them the boys. They're men. They're not boys. They're not the girls. They're women. I mean, listen, to me, if there's no malice intended with, and it's not, a derogatory term, anybody could undertake something into something else. I mean, you can nitpick words all you want. Like, we run a really loose show. Yeah. We go nuts sometimes. Nothing is ever hurtful. We don't. No. We're not coming from that place. So I think we get a little bit of a buy. But also, a couple of times someone has said something like, "Oh, you guys, why did you say that?" And I'm like, we're just effing around or whatever. And that's about it. And then it goes away.
Yeah.
That's how it is. At the end of the day, this has to be fun.
Yeah.
If you're not having fun doing this, what do I say, Rich? I'm going to go jump out that goddamn window and just call it a day.
We made the pact.
I'm going to fly off. That's
we
it.
made the pact, and they'll find our bodies. But also, I think, knock on wood, I'll pat ourselves on the back over here. We don't have that kind of thing here that needs to come out, The worst case scenario, we talk about Sopranos for 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that is a worst case scenario.
And that's it. That's usually it.
Okay, so who's the guy who influenced both of us? Howard Stern. His show today does not sound like the same show I grew up on in the mid-90s.
And it shouldn't, right? It shouldn't, because we've, 100%. As people, we've changed, we've evolved, and things that were considered acceptable are no longer acceptable, and you have to be, conscious about that.
Yeah.
In Howard's case, how much edge can you possibly have when you're you're the most successful person ever in your field, and you've made the most money ever in your field, and you had the biggest show ever in your field? You lose that edge, and that's fine. You should. He's 63 years old. He shouldn't be the same guy with vigor, in his 40s. Different guy. I think that you could take influences, you could take the good, hopefully, and not the bad, and you learn from the bad, and you evolve, and you become a different person. It's all about self-growth. That's why I'm wearing these ridiculous shoes now. I've grown into this cartoon of a character.
Okay, your shoes, so we'll go back to the show that we just did. I got a few more comments on Brian's shoes than on your shoes, but I did get some comment on your shoes, too.
They're suede loafers. Very simple today.
Oh, boy.
So let's talk about the show. Let's talk about All Out a little bit before we wrap it up. I mean, this is the kind of... What? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a mic? He's going to fall.
This guy's going to tumble into... He's going to tumble into all the equipment right now.
You could have gotten it from the other side.
Yeah, probably.
All right.
He's gonna go to sleep right now.
All right. Jesus.
Man, you okay?
Are you okay?
You okay down there?
Do I have to, okay, good.
The buy-in.
Is it on? No, flip it on. There you
Come on.
go. MG Dweeb.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Jeez. Buy-in 7 p.m. Or 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. local. Chuck Taylor, Wheeler Yuta, Orange Cassidy, and the Jurassic Express versus Matt Hardy, TH2, and Private Party. That's the buy-in.
All right, I'm into that. That's
Cool.
fine.
Yeah.
Fun, nice opener.
Who's winning?
Yuta's team.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
The key to this whole match, and this is because I went to Rampage, you need to get the Jungle Boy entrance with the song.
Big
because
time.
the fans go
Oh,
nuts
yeah.
for that song. Marco Stunt is dancing and he's doing the thing with the hand, and so that's what that match is there for them to do that entrance, and then hopefully they win, and then you get the
Yeah.
crowd really pumped
Yeah,
up.
I'm okay with that.
All right. And the main card starts at 8, and we have the women's casino battle royal. Nyla Rose, Julia Hart, Big Swole, the Bunny, Thunder Rosa, Red Velvet, Tay Conti, Penelope Ford,
No, just come right in. It's fine. Come right in.
DeMonte,
You said you were going to do it.
Hikaru
Come in.
Shida, Emi Sakura, Jade Cargill, and Kira Hogan, Anna Jay, and Rebel, Jamie Hayter, and a couple others.
That's the battle
That's-
royal. How
that's
many
the battle
how many
royal.
spots are open right now?
I know they added some, and I'm not sure who they added.
So there's 21, right?
Right.
There's going to be 21 women, and
Ruby Soho's number 21,
Ruby
maybe.
Soho hopefully
yeah.
will be in
Yeah.
there.
Does she get a red card? Are they doing? They're doing the card stuff,
Like
right?
the Joker or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the
different
Joker.
suits. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, somebody asked me, they're like, "What do you think?" And I said, "Do you want to guess my favorite gem of all time?"
Oh,
And everybody said Ruby. I said, "No. What is it? Sapphire. That's my favorite gem." No, I would expect Ruby to show up.
Yeah.
So can I say something? So Jade Cargill not ready for title shot.
Sure.
She's going to be Diesel. She's going to get all the toss outs, the Diesel, the Roman Reigns.
the big spot. You know, I mean,
version.
she is impressive to
Oh
look at.
my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, she's getting there. She's
ridiculous.
gonna become good. But
You're a baseball guy.
yeah.
Did you know that she was in a relationship with the Reds second baseman Brandon Phillips?
No, I didn't know that.
Somebody told me that. I don't know if they're still together, but I think they have a kid together. They may be together. I'm not sure.
She's an athlete, though, right?
But-
What was she?
I think she's a basketball player.
Basketball player?
Maybe. But Brandon Phillips, all-star baseball player, she's, that kid's got some
great
genetics, man.
Tremendous genetics.
Ruby Soho would be a good... It's either going to be Ruby Soho or Thunder Rosa, I think. They may push the Thunder Rosa match to next year, from what I understand. I think Ruby Soho would be a great full gear
yeah.
competitor. 'Cause
yeah.
she can work. Britt probably
Yeah,
is
they'd be
better
able to
with
work well.
women who can lead the match a little bit. So I think that would be good. But either her or Thunder, I'd be fine
Yeah.
with either.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, next we have MG Geek's favorite match of the night. AEW World Tag Team Championship, Steel Cage match. The Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers.
Yeah, that match is going to be fantastic. I don't even care who wins, to be honest. I assume that might be the opener, right? It's a really good opener to have.
Yeah.
I don't want to follow that match, though.
I mean, but who follows it?
tough,
you know?
man. The
Where do you
women's
put
battle
it?
royal.
Well, it's one of those
Those
problems.
poor
Right? Where do you
women.
put the match? Where do you put it? Because it has to be so far away from everything when it's that good. I think the Bucks keep it. Do you think they should? I don't know.
This is like wrestling fanboy nonsense. If the Bucks lose, I think Kenny would lose also.
Somebody else told me that
Interesting.
they thought the Elite would lose all the belts at the same time.
Yeah.
Based off of Dynamite, if the Bucks were winning, I think the Lucha Brothers would have won that match. And they didn't have to pin the Bucks. They could have pinned anybody. But the fact that they pinned, who did they pin? Penta? I don't remember who they pinned. Kind of makes me think that the Lucha Brothers are winning. Now, I don't know how long the title reign would be, and the Bucks could get the belts back sooner than later.
Right.
But just the way that Dynamite ended made me think that the Lucha Brothers are going to win.
I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
I mean, you listen, two fantastic teams.
Okay, AEW TNT Championship, Miro versus Eddie Kingston.
Eddie Kingston.
I'm kind of upset this match is happening now
And not at Arthur Ashe.
and not at Arthur Ashe.
It could happen still
It
at
could
Arthur
still
Ashe.
happen at Arthur Ashe because that New York welcome that he would get, and also same with Santana and Ortiz. I think their moment should also be there. I don't know. Should Miro lose? I don't think Eddie Kingston should lose because he tends to lose.
Yeah.
He takes the pin sometimes from Mox. He'll lose, but I think this is a good showing for him. This guy's been fantastic. Put the title on him. What the hell? And you could have it go back and forth. It's fine.
Put the title on him, and I'm going to pop. I know you're not a New York guy, Garrett. I'm sorry. I'm going to pop you, though.
Yeah.
We're at Arthur Ashe.
Yeah.
Eddie Kingston comes out.
How drunk are we?
We're pretty drunk.
What am I wearing?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nude.
You're
Totally butt naked, oiled up. Perfect.
Underwears.
Yeah, perfect.
Underwears, whatever you want. We're there. Eddie Kingston comes out. He's the champ, right? Challenges, blah, 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 blah. Out comes Homicide.
Oh, you know what's
a
funny?
New York staple.
Homicide will be wrestling for the Sapphire Television Championship at Catalyst Wrestling on September 17th.
Wow.
I'm just going to put it out there.
Hey, listen.
I booked them.
Stranger things could
I
happen.
booked Homicide.
Would you pop for Homicide?
I would
versus
definitely pop
Kingston?
for Homicide, yeah. As long as he just keeps saying Kojima over and over again. And Lariat.
So I like your idea, obviously, about Arthur Ashe. Could Eddie Kingston lose this match, shenanigan, whatever, and then win it in a rematch at Arthur
I would
Ashe?
love that. To bring CJ, have her cause some
That'd be cool.
F up, and then you do it. I think
So
that's cool.
I don't know if you guys watch Rampage, but so Miro's in the ring. He does this promo. He calls himself the Redeemer. And Eddie Kingston's got the mic, and he's like, "You're the Redeemer.
Fantastic.
Redeem these nuts."
And he
went
ran
in.
it. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
It was great. Like he's so perfect.
What a 1999 New York dirtbag response.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
These nuts.
Very good.
There is no taking the shittiness of being a New Yorker out of
Have you talked to him before?
I don't. No, I haven't met Kingston. We have a lot of mutual friends.
We interviewed him for like 50 minutes or an hour or whatever. But like, just seems like the most down to earth dude ever. Like, just the coolest. Like the guy. Let's go to the dive bar and
he loves
drink.
wrestling, and he loves pro wrestling. Like everyone that I know that knows him in that New York, at the time in the New York independent scene when he was like really coming up. I can't begin to tell you how much this guy loves wrestling.
Yeah.
And that promo he cut when he showed up and he challenged Moxley for the title, and man, powerful, right? You get a little goosebump. He goes, I have to tell my mother the reason why she doesn't have grandkids and she doesn't have a daughter-in-law is because of this. And he pointed at the title. And I go, my God, what a powerful promo from a guy that's never had national exposure. And it kind of helps with the story of like, I've had to suffer because my obsession with this business.
Right.
Fantastic.
Before all of these new guys, before Punk came in, before Danielson's coming in, before Aleister Black, all these guys came in, I did a podcast with Moxley, and I was like, it would be great in New York. I don't even think the Arthur Ashe thing, it may have been an idea already, but I was like, it would be so great, very similar to that Mankind moment when he finally beat the Rock for the championship, and the crowd just went nuts because it's like their underdog favorite who they never thought would win it. And so they weren't sure. They didn't think that he was going to win it. And when he did, it was just like one of the greatest moments, one of the greatest Raw moments in history.
Fantastic.
And I told Mox, I said, that should be the Eddie Kingston moment. He doesn't have to beat Omega. He doesn't have to hold the belt for 6 months.
He did it.
He does it. Yeah. And then he has that connection to the fan base like Mick Foley has to the fan base, which is we're all underdogs. Yeah. We love him. And when you finally are the underdog who gets over and beats the guy, it's always going to be a great moment.
You think Hangman shows up?
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
No. Too much of a stack show.
I don't know. I mean, I wish I would. I wish I knew more about.
Just for the pop.
I wish I knew more about why he left. Some people have said, I think he said because his wife's
due.
Due. I
don't know the current status.
I mean, I fully 100% believe the changing of that match was for his benefit
Yeah.
because he can't lose again.
No. He should not lose in a world title match. They need to protect him because listen, they haven't really done much with him if you think about it since for a while now. But he's over more and more every time. So there's probably a reason they cooled off to kind of bring him back.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to hear that pop.
I mean, look, that homegrown AEW fan base, he's their guy.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Go ahead, MG.
Paul White versus QT Marshall.
Paul White should win. You know
Yeah.
what? That's like a nice second. You know what? That should be the second match.
Absolutely.
That should be the
yeah.
match that followed because you know what? There's a nostalgia act there. You respect Paul White. You know, it'll be a quick thing. He'll do his thing, and people will see, you know, Paul White in AEW, and maybe he'll get it out of his system. Maybe this is like, hey, I want to have a match.
Yeah.
Do we expect anything with
Billy?
Shaq at any point with him, you think?
I don't know, but I mean, they're leading up to a Billy Gunn feud. A 59, 58-year-old Billy Gunn and a 50-year-old...
Billy Gunn is
why not?
a giant
I know,
man.
he's
big.
remarkable. I'm okay with that. He moves better than half that roster. I mean, and this isn't a knock at the roster. He moves so well for a guy his size and his age. It's remarkable.
Yeah. For sure.
I went to the AEW Double or Nothing ticket party, and he was sitting down.
And he was tall.
And he was bigger than almost everybody else.
I think he's like, what is he, 6'7"?
6'5",
I think he's at least 6'5".
He's a big dude.
but he's like 6'5".
Oh, I know,
too.
Jack.
Yeah.
I got one more on the Kingston thing. With this pop you, Christian beats Kenny, takes the AEW title. Kingston challenges him at Arthur Ashe. Kingston wins, drops it next week to Kenny.
Too many title switches.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Kenny shouldn't lose until it's the right guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has.
Who
to
is the
make-
right guy? Is it
Right.
Hangman?
I would have said Hangman.
It could
now I'm
still
gonna
be
say,
Hangman.
Now I'm going to say Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
Brian Danielson. I got to get used to that again.
I know.
It took me so long in my mind to call him Daniel Bryan, and now it's like impossible. I mean, you could have Danielson beat him at Full Gear, I guess, right? That's still a couple months away.
They got to change. They got to change the date of that card. By the way,
Oh yeah, they have to. They have to move it because of the UFC fight.
Yeah.
Or you could have it in Arthur Ashe. What if he loses it in Arthur Ashe to Bryan Danielson? You got a nice 3-week build for this big event. It's a big show. Already anticipation to make it into something big. You know, rather than having him debut, what if he wins the title? I'm not saying that that's what should happen, but
Right,
it's an interesting option.
yeah. We were talking about the Paul White match, and then we got
Yes,
to
we went into that. I would say Paul White.
sorry,
Paul
guys.
White wins
Yeah.
or QT?
Paul White.
Paul White.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, then we're going to go to John Moxley versus Satoshi Kojima.
Mox.
Yeah, but I hope that match is everything I want it to be.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, Mox, he's a fucking beefcake now, bro.
Yeah, thick
He's
dude.
all beefy.
Big boy.
He's a big boy. He's hairy chest. He's got thicker. I like this Mox.
He's this is I think it's kind of like the first step into him facing, some other Japanese wrestlers.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Kojima's the match is going to be good. Kojima's great.
one of the greatest, yeah.
But
I mean,
this
phenomenal.
match, I think, is overshadowed on this card.
It is overshadowed,
Yeah.
but maybe that's, they kind of realize that because of everything that's happening, maybe a Tanahashi match on this card wouldn't make sense. But maybe Tanahashi shows up at the end,
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
another thing. AEW's big with that. They tend to do that a lot where people show up randomly at that ring. That's my only criticism of AEW. There's too many people around the ring. Too many people. Guys on the ramp, guys downstairs, guys upstairs.
When they were in Daly's place, they would
Daly's
just
place,
hang
especially.
out. Like
they're just hanging out watching.
Like, come on, get in the back. I don't want to see you.
I mean, Taz is out there, Don Callis is out there,
Mike
Jim
Tyson
Ross gets
just
out.
walking
A lot
around.
of bodies. A lot of bodies.
People are going into the bathroom, coming back, Fantastic. All right, go ahead.
MJF versus Chris Jericho. If Chris Jericho loses, he can no longer wrestle in AEW.
You know what? Where I'm in a feud with MJF now. Sean Ross Sapp, Andrew Zarian, Denise Salcedo, and Dave Meltzer walk into a chili. And you know what this asshole wrote? And everybody walks out. You know what? I was going to take him he's a nice Long Island boy.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't like chilies. Maybe he's a Fridays fan.
Yeah.
That Friday's in Manhasset.
There you go.
We get 2-for-1 margaritas on Thursdays.
Burger Village, another option.
Burger Village is another one. We could take him to the press.
Take him to the Broadway Mall.
Rockville Center. We'll take him to the
There
press.
you go. Yeah.
He's a nice Long Island boy
Yeah.
from Plainview.
Yeah.
I called one of his matches.
Oh,
Called
for
an MJF
Catalyst?
For NLW out of Deer Park. I called one of his matches.
Oh, wow.
I'll tell you, there was 3 people that were like stars on that show, right? Actually, everybody became somebody. Sonny Kiss was on that show, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sonny Kiss was on that show, and I worked heel. It was me and JD from New York, and I was working heel.
Oh, wow.
I just wanted to think of that. I was doing color, and he was doing play-by-play. I worked heel that whole show. MJF was remarkable, and there were 2 other people. One was David Starr.
Okay.
And David Starr faced a guy, I don't think you guys, maybe some people recognize the name, Rude Boy Riley.
Yes.
Out of Staten Island.
Yeah.
I'm putting this guy over, okay? This is the future of this business, these 2 guys. Obviously, I did it for MJF because he was really fantastic.
Yeah.
Rude Boy Riley, this guy's going to become a big star. Like a month, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
Underage images on his phone, and he's done.
Yeah.
I had to call, and I'm like, I can't have that out there. To talk about it really.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I'm like, you know what? I'm calling a match. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And I just let it be there. But
Yeah.
those were the 3 people on that card that I was like, these 3 are really good.
Canceled.
Well, 2 of them are canceled.
Yeah.
Then one tells children to go F themselves, and he's perfectly fine because his
Not
gimmick is
canceled.
so over. And good for him. Kudos to him because that is such an ability to be able to do what he does, and people appreciate the art of it. I'm going to go with Jericho.
Jericho.
Yeah, I don't think Jericho retires. MJF has lost once, maybe, in his entire AEW career.
Wow.
I think it was to Moxley in the title match.
Interesting.
I think.
Yeah, it could be.
So he could totally lose.
And it's fine. It doesn't hurt him. But I'm not crazy that this is the 3rd match that they have. I feel like that match that they had a couple of weeks ago would have been perfectly fine on this pay-per-view. They didn't have to do that on TV.
I agree.
Add another labor. Bring Lance Storm. Why not?
Yeah.
Bring somebody else. Anybody.
Yeah, anybody would have been
Yeah.
cool. Somebody from Japan, maybe. Yeah.
MG?
AEW World Championship, Women's Championship. Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander.
Britt Baker.
Britt Baker.
Yeah.
Britt Baker, Chris Statlander. I like her character, her more serious character. She's in really good shape.
I love the alien stuff, though. I like the boop. I'm really into the alien stuff. Brian and I'm going to talk his ear off because for like 3 seconds, I was like, when are you going to do the conspiracy shit again? He's like, I don't do conspiracy. I'm like, yeah, but the alien stuff.
Let's talk about the
And
Anunnaki.
he like lit up. He's like, I want to do it. I got to figure out. I'm like, no. I need more aliens. I need more Anunnaki.
More
I need
aliens.
more center of the earth people.
More Norwegians.
Or that's what I call Florida, by the way. The center of the earth. The Norwegians.
Love the Norwegians.
The alien, the Norwegian aliens.
The
like,
Greys.
the Greys. I'm into all of them. I'm into all of it more than you can imagine. I torture this poor woman. My wife is on the floor filing her nails right now. I torture her every night. I have to watch an alien video to fall asleep. I fall asleep.
That's what does it for you.
Oh,
huh?
you don't know that about me? That's what does it about me. I pop an edible, and about 45 minutes later, I'm like, baby, get ready. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, get ready. And I put on Ancient Aliens.
You were like, look.
Pants are off. I'm not wearing any pants. And Ancient Aliens is playing the whole time.
I need you to watch this video on Zoroastrianism right now. Whoa, man, we came from the stars, dude.
Well, that was me and Van Dam. That was our conversation with Van Dam.
Oh, that was great.
Oh, we got to talk about his RVD CBD.
RVD,
Yeah,
CBD.
he's coming out in a couple of weeks. We're going to be doing a big promo code and everything with them.
Great.
2 matches left. We'll go the AEW World Championship. Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage.
You go.
Kenny retains asterisk. I think there's going to be some kind of like real
Funny business.
funny business ending
Yeah.
that keeps them both looking strong, but Kenny gets the one-winged angel after much protest.
And then who comes out?
Daniel Bryan?
You know what? We'll know.
Hangman?
Right? We'll know what the placement of the match. If that match is not the main event, then we know that obviously Bryan Danielson is not going to be there.
I think I'm gonna call this like fanboy style. Great match. Bucks, Good Brothers, Jurassic Express. There's a bit of a schmaz. Hangman comes out to clear it. A little bit of a stare down. at some point, but Kenny
Cool.
still gets the pin.
That's
Okay,
interesting.
cool. I'm into
That's
that.
interesting.
And the big match.
Big Mac, CM Punk versus Darby Allin.
Darby should not win. He doesn't need to win, and he shouldn't win.
I'm very interested to see how they get to the GTS.
Oh, me too.
I think it's going to be really creative.
Yeah, me too.
Ooh.
He's gonna do it on a fucking skateboard, dude.
I think I think it's going to be a GTS into some kind of backflip clothesline deal that's going to shock people. I think both of them just explode. No winner. Like, I can't see a winner in that match, and it has to be like they both brutalize each other to the point of like a double count out. But then does that send people home happy? It doesn't.
Yeah.
You want me to go through these questions and wrap it up?
Yeah, you want to do Q&As?
Yeah.
Let's do some Q&As. Guys, submit your questions. Okay, we got a couple.
Few questions I pulled.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's
I
do
pulled them earlier.
I can't see the chat. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, I pulled a few questions. Apex Forever. What's the reason they decided to put the pay-per-view on Fight and the app in the U.S. as well?
Because of the BR Live situation. BR Live is switching platforms, and they're no longer going to be... There's something weird going on with Turner with this stuff, because BR was a good addition, and I was told that it is until they build their live streaming platform. I assumed, based on being in tech, you're in tech, that HBO Max would become that streaming platform. HBO Max doesn't do streaming with pay-per-views yet like that. So I think there's like a... But you can watch it on Bleacher Report, right?
Bleacher Report Live.
Bleacher Report Live, but there's no app for that on the TV.
We had a guy go in our chat and tell us that they are get support for the Apple is trying to support it before the show. I don't know if that happened or not.
So they got like 24 hours.
Right. Mm-hmm.
My guess is they didn't, because why else would it be on Fight?
Yeah, why else would it be on Fight? Yeah, I you know what? I've ordered pay-per-views on Fight. It's always solid. It's always fine.
It's totally fine.
I don't have any issues, so I would say do it on Fight. But that's the main reason, because they're in a transition period between the brand. Like, same thing with WWE. It's actually fascinating how that's happening. AEW needs to build an archival system right now. They don't have enough content for it. That's part of their goal. Obviously, anybody would want to be part of this, subscription version of, $9.99 or whatever you do, where you get pay-per-views or you get specials on the weekends or whatever. But until then, listen, that $50 pay-per-view, they've shown that people will buy at least 200,000, 150,000, right? Let's say 200,000 worldwide.
Maybe for this show.
Maybe for this show in North America, you'll have, I'm going to say under 200. I'm going to go with the under. I want to put it out there. People are saying over 200. 250? I don't know.
The last one was 150, I think.
150, and that was the best one that they ever
So
did.
they'd have to
from like
jump-
$130. They would have to jump
they'd
a
have
lot.
to jump a lot to get to.
You got to
200.
remember, you've had 7 years of conditioning pro wrestling fans that there's no value in a pay-per-view.
Right.
$9 a month, that's all wrestling should be. Fascinating how it also has undercut everybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm willing to bet, and this is my own thought. If WWE never went to the model of $9.99 for pay-per-views, AEW's pay-per-view buys would be much higher.
Yeah.
I think they deflated. Obviously, pay-per-view and boxing and MMA and everything else still works, but I think for wrestling fans, they've gotten used to not having to pay a lot of money. So when they see a $50 price tag, they look at it and go, "Ooh, it's a little steep."
Part of the reason
And
why
it is.
Tony only does 4 shows.
Only
a year.
4 shows, yeah.
It's very smart. I'm going to go back to that CM Punk thing real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Here's my fantasy ending. Several GTSs on Darby. Right? What's the name of Punk's finisher again? Not the GTS, the submission.
Anaconda Vice.
Anaconda Vice.
30-foot coffin drop.
Into an Anaconda Vice.
Like some insane coffin drop, right? Darby's on his last legs, turns it into an Anaconda Vice. Either Darby taps or passes out.
I think Darby would have to tap. They do the passing out thing a little too much.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've done that. Who did they do that with recently? They did that with somebody, and it bothered me. Was it Mox?
Kingston passed out with Mox, I think.
Kingston
Yeah.
passed out with Mox?
But that
Somebody else passed
was
out.
last year or whatever.
I don't know. I'm excited to see whatever they do. I don't think CM Punk should lose.
I don't think so either.
Because remember, he's coming off of 2 losses already.
Real losses.
Real losses.
Yeah.
Which I got to tell you, do you know how many people, not like casual wrestling fans, like P3s,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like fly-by-night wrestling fans, they all tell me, oh, this guy sucks. He lost his MMA fights. I have to tell you, there's so much of that from non-real wrestling fans. When I say non-real, I'm not taking a shot at them. I'm saying they don't watch it regularly. They're affected by that. So he definitely needs to redeem himself here with maybe some of the casuals.
Okay. Same person asked, are they going to change the set for the pay-per-views using the same one? This is a question for you because you know you love these questions.
I love the questions about the setup, the set, because it's daily, multiple times. Seriously, in my DMs daily, about 4 or 5 times a day, I get
pushy.
asked. I get what?
Very pushy.
Very pushy questions about the set.
This was specifically about the set from Rampage.
I think it's going to be the same. I think it's the same, right? I don't think they have a different set. I don't know.
All right. With the same shirt, this is the last one for Apex Forever. Which championship can change hands tomorrow?
Can?
They
all can.
He's wondering who we think.
Everything except for the AEW title, I would say.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Except, Britt Baker's winning, keeping that title too. The 2 world titles they're keeping.
Nolan J, when in the future do you see MJF winning the AEW World Championship?
That's a great question. Who should be the person he beats? That's the question.
Okay, here's a question that similar. Is he on the short list? You already said Bryan Danielson would be on someone you would give the belt to.
I would 100% do that.
I would assume CM Punk would be on that list. Hangman would be on that list. Is MJF on that list
definitely.
right now?
I want them to be so careful with him because I really think that they've created something, or he's created something, because this was his character, that's very different for today. And he's a guy in WWE that would have gotten over MJF for sure.
He's still a little small for
6 foot, right?
For their way that they want to do things.
In my opinion, he's a better Miz for wrestling fans, but the Miz is better for the WWE machine.
Oh, yeah.
That guy is the star. I'm telling you, 50 years from now, revisionist history, when WWE is like presenting everything as like our top stars, the Miz is going to be like one of their biggest stars.
Oh,
of all
for real,
time.
dude.
Give me real world.
Telling
Miz.
you.
I don't like WWE Miz. Give me the real world.
Miz is
The
their
real
Bob Backlund.
world,
Yeah.
the challenge. Give me that Miz, because that Miz was somebody. This one is homogenized guy with.
So
Yeah.
I think for MJF, definitely on the list. I think but you got to do it the right way.
Yeah.
I think if Jericho had the belt and he beat Jericho like an older Jericho, that would have been great.
Yeah.
But I don't think the fans would appreciate. You know what? Have him beat Danielson.
They like.
You know what? That's how I would do
boy.
it. I would have him beat Danielson for that title.
They like long title reigns, though. So if he is 4th on your list, that could be 3.5 years.
He's also the youngest, right? What is he, 24, 25?
Yeah, something
Right?
like that.
He has quite a few years. Put the TNT title on him and make him the TNT champion or TBS champion when they go over.
Yeah.
He doesn't need it.
He doesn't need a
But he
belt
should have
unless
it,
it's
but he
the real
should.
belt.
Yeah, but he should exactly. He should have it. He doesn't need it.
Roddy Piper never had the WWF title, but he was right there.
Well,
with
if you
Hogan.
listen to Hogan, Hogan will tell
So
you,
stupid.
if Roddy wanted to do business the right way, he could have been the biggest star.
No, if Hogan pins Roddy, Roddy's in NWA
You know what, though?
and a.
If I'm
in a
Hulk
year.
Hogan, and it's 1986,
Yeah.
I'm not dropping anything to anybody.
No.
He wasn't
F
going
you.
to drop anything.
I'll never drop it. I'm
He
going to
dropped
die
it
with
to
this
the
belt.
Ultimate
brother.
Warrior
He
and
did.
then sabotaged the reign from, being so sympathetic to the fans. And
He said he wanted to turn heel, right? That was
Yeah.
his thing. You know what though?
Ridiculous.
Talk about. I'm veering off here. MG Geek's favorite thing.
Do one more question after this.
Yeah. If 1990, that was probably the first WrestleMania match I've ever seen, like in a full. Like I don't remember the paper, but I remember that match.
Yeah.
Watching my dad. If Hogan had left the ring, gone halfway up the ramp, and said "F this," and went back and just buried Warrior, that would have ruined that company.
Yeah.
Well, he kind of did it though, because
He went back and he handed the belt, and then
No. So the whole thing for Hogan is this is Warrior's moment, right? This is why Bret Hart when Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels had their thing,
Yeah.
and Shawn is whispering, "Get out of the ring. This is my moment."
Yeah.
It's
That's
because
of that.
Hogan does the fan sympathy thing, so all the fans are more sad that he lost the belt
than happy that Warrior won.
that Warrior won the belt. And so from the day one, that reign was secondary.
It's always amazing that such a short reign with such short-sightedness that they couldn't wait to take the title off of him because it screwed up their entire WrestleMania 8, right? Yeah, WrestleMania 7. Yeah, 7 in Los Angeles. The whole thing got sabotaged. It got ruined because you did not have that rematch between Hogan and Warrior.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Warrior sucked, but nobody gave a shit about his in-ring at that point.
Right.
I mean, like the people that cared, like the core viewership, nobody cared that he was a bad worker. Hang on a couple more months and have him and Hogan again.
Okay, but go back to SummerSlam that year, the double main event. So Warrior's not even in the main event on his own as the champion on on his own show. Warrior and Rude, completely overshadowed by Hogan and Earthquake.
And Rude and Warrior was such a better match.
Ooh, so much of a better match. But it was a follow-up to a match that they'd done before. If you put a Randy Savage in that program, it's probably a little bit better. But I don't know the reason why. But Hogan was still the bigger star.
Always.
Warrior was always in his shadow, and the only way you could change that is if Hogan's gone. And when he was gone, business was down
big time.
So Vince. I mean,
It's down because of Warrior, not because of Hogan.
Yeah, we think of Vince today, and he's always looking for that next guy so that I don't have to get held up by Hogan every time the contract is up.
Yeah.
I need to find another guy that I can make, and so he thought it was Warrior, but he then realized, nope, it's not going to be Warrior. We're going to move on.
I love the possibility that in 1998, late 97, early 98, Ultimate Warrior was very close to re-signing with the WWE for a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
It would have ended in 2002. 99, 2000, 2001. Yeah, 98, 99, 2000, 2001. Yeah, it would have ended late 2001 or early 2000. No, January 2002, the contract would have ended. So it is possible in an alternate universe this happened. Ultimate Warrior was in the mix after Brett left and Shawn left. Warrior's there. And I'm telling you right now, and he is the higher power. And that is how you do the Austin.
I was wondering where you were going with this.
That is the Austin Warrior match as him as the higher power because Vince, losing his mind, he brought the guy that held him up.
Yeah.
The guy that he hates.
Makes sense.
And he's old loony. He's like, he's reading.
Off the reservation.
Like,
completely.
off the recation, demon worshiper.
Yeah.
Growling.
Cult.
Yeah, he has like the acolyte stuff all over him.
I like it.
Bonkers. Totally. Only black and gray. Everything he's wearing is black and gray.
I like that. I like that a lot. Last question.
Yeah.
Last question. Okay, Johnny again. Do you think AEW will add a 5th WrestleMania type pay-per-view in a few years?
I think they're going to have to. I think All Out will eventually become that. That's a big question. AEW easily could sell out at 10,000 per. I shouldn't say easily, but they can easily if on a pay-per-view sell out 10 to 14,000. We saw that they sold out United Center 15,000 whatever.
Yeah.
Arthur Ashe, a building that nobody has ever run.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, nobody in Queens, not even Manhattan, in Queens, a building that the New York City Parks Department forbid anybody running other than tennis. They're running that building with like 17,000 people. The question is, can they do 50? Can they do? I don't think they could do 60 today. I really don't. Can they do 40? Yeah, I think so. Can they do 36? Yeah, definitely. Depends on. I mean, this show, if you get a card with Danielson on it, Adam Cole on it, CM Punk, Kenny Omega, you bring out Andrade and Flair.
Mox.
You bring out Mox. You bring out that whole crew.
Forget it. Yeah.
In major title matches, major hot angle matches, they could do 40,000 people for sure.
My soccer knowledge isn't great, but on our show that we did with Dave and Tony Khan, he mentioned running the building that his soccer team plays at
in London.
How many people fit in that
Fulham?
stadium?
Is it? Is it 30? It's not like 60. I know that. Yeah.
So I could see if you want to add a 5th show and you do it in the UK every year.
That would sell. That would 100% sell.
And they would
the UK,
sell that
'cause they
building out every
They don't
time.
get the shows that often, and
Yeah.
it's always like TNA was packed. I mean,
Very
the
popular.
the business that Impact would do in the UK is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Is that it? Are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
Are we getting a drink? What are we doing?
We're getting some lunch. We're getting a drink, baby.
Good. Where are we going? Are you,
Garrett, you coming with us?
I have to do one thing, but I will meet you guys wherever you
perfect.
guys
Great.
are.
Let's do it. All right, guys, that's it. We're going to be live tomorrow. We're not live, but we're going to be in person tomorrow in Chicago at All Out at the Now Arena. You see us, say hello.
Please say hi.
Yeah, come say hello.
Let us sleep in your bed.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be at the Observer Q&A. It's sold out. Sorry, guys. We're going to be there. Maybe we'll do something else afterwards. I don't know. I got a 7 a.m. flight Monday morning out of Chicago back into New York. You know what? I've decided I can't do these 7 a.m. flights anymore.
Yeah, dude.
Unless I'm going
You
to the West
decided
Coast.
now after you booked the 7 a.m.
I don't know
flight?
why I booked it. And here's the crazy thing, right? She took the kids to my in-laws Thursday night. I should be like, you know what? Why am I not getting on the 10 o'clock flight?
Yeah.
It's an hour, what was it, 2 hours? 2:15? I'll be there by 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. No, instead, I torture myself. I wake up at 4 in the morning because nothing could be easy in my life. I have to make it difficult. I have to get to LaGuardia, go through all that. I'm half awake. I'm not doing it anymore, except when I go to California.
Yeah,
Then I'll do
that's
it.
the easier way to do it because you time travel. a little
You time
bit.
travel,
Yeah.
which is always nice.
When you come into Cali?
I used to go like a bunch every year. I used to go to LA constantly. Just 1 year, right? I did like 8 trips. You guys are still locked down. I'm waiting for you guys to open up so I could get the hell out of New York and head over to California for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, listen, everybody, check out. I do a show with Garrett. I don't need to break it down for you guys. It's a fantastic show. I absolutely love it with Denise Salcedo. Also, we're live, pal. Today, the episode that's going up next, so possibly tonight or tomorrow morning. Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez, the biggest show we've done. It's an awesome podcast. If you didn't see it live, check it out on download. Also, you can check out this show. Available everywhere podcasts are available. Also, Garrett also does a bunch of stuff. Garrett, where can people check it out? I just did an interview with you on one of the best podcast names for a wrestling show ever, and it's called Observe This.
So, Fight Game Media, follow the Twitter, fightgamemedia.com. We have a Patreon as well. And, everything is Fight Game Media. I mean, that's where I put a video of CM Punk singing Thank You for Being a Friend from the Golden Girls.
Jess, you missed it yesterday. I told you we should have gone. They did a sing-along of the Golden Girls.
And that video has done like 40K in views or something. It's
Fantastic.
ridiculous. So,
Fantastic.
just go to Fight Game Media. You can see all our
Fight
stuff.
Game Media, and of course, what's your Twitter handle? GG.
It's so hard to even spell
It is.
out.
It's very difficult.
I try and stay incognito.
Okay, you can
as
just
much
find
as
Garrett
possible.
Gonzalez on
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah.
BTC Rich, Andrew Zarian on Twitter, Matt Men Podcast on Twitter. I want to, first of all, I'm going to thank everybody. I'm going to say my thank yous. MG Geek, huge thank you to him. Suncast for coming in. Actually, all the Michigan guys came in. And Treehouse Vince.
Yeah.
Do you want to give the mic and say hello so Treehouse can say hello?
Hey, pal.
Oh, thank you. All right, guys, that's it. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.